Good morning, grade 4s. Today we are going to talk a little bit about pictographs. Pictographs is one of my favorite ways to show information because not only do you get a graph, but you also get pictures with it. In every single pictograph that you see, there will be a few things that are always there. First of all, we're always going to have a title that tells us what is our pictograph showing us. So in the case of this pictograph, it is showing students' favorite subjects. A pictograph will always have a scale, something that looks like this, that will tell you how much each of these pictures is worth. So one little dude here is worth 5 students. So if we look at math here, it has one little person. That means that 5 students like math because there's one of them. And then we will always have our scale. It will usually go across horizontally from right to left or from left to right, but sometimes it might go the other way. It just usually appears this way. So with these pictographs, you're going to be asked a few different types of questions, and I just want to show those to you today. So the first type of question is something like this. How many people liked language? So we're looking for how many people are in one specific area. So what we do is we look up to language, and we see that there's 2 little dudes here for language. And we have to think, how much are those 2 little dudes worth? We know that one little dude is 5 students. So 2 little dudes, we can do that 2 different ways. First of all, we could count using our 5s. So we have 2 dudes, so we go 5, 10. That means there must be 10 of them. Or, so that's the first way. Or we could see that there's 2 of these guys, so we could take 2 and we could times it by how much each of those are worth. 2 times 5 gives us 10. Either way, these 2 little dudes represent 10 people. So how many people liked language? 10 people liked language. There we go. Now the second type of question is asking us how many times as many. I'm going to switch colors for that actually. So as many is the key word there, and times within that. How many times as many students like science as those who like, sorry, that should be gym. So how many times as many students like science as those who like gym? So we look at the number of people in, sorry, this question is really backwards. As they like math, that's what it's supposed to be. There we go. So we look at science and math and we figure out how many guys are in each of those categories. 1 times 5 gives me 5 guys who like math. And 3 times 5 gives me 15. 15 guys like science. So how many times can 5 fit into 15 is basically what this question is asking. How many times as many students are in each of these categories? So what if I do is I can count by my 5s and see how many times it takes me to get to 15. So 5, 10, 15. 3 times 5 gives me 15. That means that it fits in 3 times. That one's a little bit of a tricky one, but that's the best way to do it. Next, let's look at number 3. How many more students like gym than science? So how many more? Whenever we see many more, that gives us a little hint that it is a subtraction question. And that is really hard to see, so I'm going to switch my pen out there. How many times more? So that's subtraction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how many people like gym, how many people like science. Well, luckily I already know that 15 people like science. Now I just need to figure out how many people like gym. So I can count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20. 20 people must like gym. So then I'm going to subtract those 2. 20 minus 15, that gives me 5 left over. So that's how many more people like gym. So there we go. 5 people. And finally, the last one asks, how many students were there in all? So we know that there were 5 students who liked math. We know that there were 10 students who liked language. There were 15 students that liked science. How many students liked art? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. 25 students like art, and 20 students like gym. Once we get all those numbers, to find the total, how many students there were in all, we're just going to add them all up. So 5, 10, 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow, 75. 75 people took this survey, and there's my answer. So those are some of the types of questions you will encounter. Give them a try on your own page. You will find that they are very similar, just of a different scale. So make sure you look at your scale and see how much the picture is worth, because it might not be 5 for the one you are doing. Okay, thank you very much, grade 4s.